So, in my opinion, this movie, personally, in my opinion, this movie that I'm talking about is personally, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, guys, please. In my opinion, personally, just in my opinion, I just think that personally, in my opinion, personally, anyway, in my opinion, personally, I just want to say this is my opinion. This is personal. If you disagree, that's fine. But in my subjective, personal opinion, personally, I just think I have this opinion on this movie that I personally just believe in. It's not that controversial. Personally, I just think that I personally think that, in my opinion, this movie that I'm talking about, this piece of media, in my opinion, personally, I just think that, in my opinion, this movie that I'm talking about, this piece of media, I think that now, in my opinion, personally, this movie, this piece of media that I'm going to talk about is, in my opinion, I'm just making that out there that this is just my opinion. You don't have to agree with what I'm saying. Opinions are subjective, they're not based on facts. Now, personally, in my opinion, my views on this movie are definitely personal and subjective. In my opinion, personally, this movie that I'm talking about, it doesn't start with the letter O. Now, personally, in my opinion, I just want to avoid upsetting people. So I'm going to make it very clear that personally, that my views are subjective and that this is all just my opinion. You see, personally, in my opinion, this movie that I'm talking about, this is just my own personal opinion and it's subjective. Now, personally, please take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. This is just my opinion. Now, personally, in my opinion, this movie that I'm talking about, this is just my opinion, guys. Please remember. Now, personally, in my opinion, the movie that I'm talking about is subjective. It's not based on facts. It's completely subjective. Opinions are neither right nor wrong. Now, personally, in my opinion, the movie that I'm talking about is, well, in my subjective opinion, personally, the movie that we'll be talking about today is just my preference, and this is just a completely subjective take. You don't have to take what I'm saying seriously. Don't let my opinion affect yours. But personally, in my opinion, this is a subjective take, and the movie that I'm talking about today is just part of my own personal opinion. You see, personally, in my opinion, what I'm talking about in today's video is just subjective. Now, personally, in my opinion, what I'm talking about is completely subjective. It's not meant to be taken seriously. Now, personally, in my opinion, the movie that I'm talking about in this video is going to be part of my opinion. Now, personally, what I'm saying here is completely subjective. Just take it with a grain of salt. I don't want to offend anyone. But personally, in my subjective opinion, the movie that I'm talking about is completely subjective. It's just my opinion. Now, personally, in my opinion, the movie that we'll be discussing in today's video, this is just my opinion. You don't got to take it seriously. You live your way, I live mine. But personally, in my opinion, the movie that I'm talking about, it's just subjective. In my opinion, the movie that I'm talking about is just part of my own subjective opinion. Now, personally, I don't want to offend anyone when I talk about this movie, and I definitely want to, make YouTube my thing. But personally, in my opinion, the movie I'm talking about is just my opinion. If you disagree with me, that's perfectly okay. That's okay. People naturally disagree with each other when it comes to subjects on media. Now, personally, in my opinion, the movie that I'm talking about in today's video, this is just my opinion. It's subjective. It's not really based on, objectivity or whatsoever. I don't want to offend anyone. Now, personally, in my opinion, the movie that I'm talking about today is just, it has some problems, but those problems are, once again, just my opinion. Now, personally, in my opinion, what I'm talking about in today's video subject is just part of my own subjective opinion. I don't want to upset anybody here. And, what I'm just saying is just 100% my opinion. Now, personally, in my opinion, what I'm talking about is just completely subjective and it's just 100% my opinion. Now, personally, in my opinion, what I'm talking about with today's movie is pretty subjective. This is just my opinion, guys. Please remember that what I'm just saying, it's just my opinion, my subjective opinion. Now, personally, in today's video, what I'm talking about is just my opinion. Personally, this is subjective. I don't want to offend you. It's okay for us not to have aligning opinions because personally, in my opinion, today's video, we're going to be talking about a specific movie. Now, in my opinion, this movie has some flaws, but this is my subjective opinion. I don't want to offend you. Personally, what I'm basically going to talk about in this movie is my subjective opinion. So, personally, in my opinion, the movie that I'm talking about is completely subjective. If you disagree with what I have to say, that's perfectly understandable. I don't want to offend or accept you. Because personally, in my opinion, what I'm talking about is a movie that comes down to it being part of my subjective opinion. Now, if you disagree with what I have to say, that's perfectly understandable, perfectly fine. But personally, in my opinion, what I'm saying in this video is completely 100% subjective. So please take what I have to say with a grain of salt, because this is all just personally my opinion. At the end of the day, if you disagree with me, that's perfectly okay. Now, personally, in my opinion, the video or the movie that I'm talking about is just part of my subjective opinion. If you disagree with me, totally understandable. I don't want you to unsubscribe. Now, personally, in my opinion, the movie that I'm talking about is just my subjective opinion. Now, personally, I do have some flaws with this movie. The movie has some flaws. I want to talk about it, but I don't want to risk upsetting you. Just remember that my opinion is subjective. All opinions when it comes to movie and discussions, those are completely subjective. Now, personally, in the movie that I'm talking about, it has some issues, it has some flaws, and we're just going to talk about that in today's video. Now, personally, in my opinion, the movie that I'm talking about is completely subjective. There are some flaws with the movie, but to be honest, to be fair, personally, what I think is that the movie, it has some flaws, but these are just my own subjective opinions. You don't have to take what I say seriously. Now, personally, in my opinion, what I'm saying here is just completely subjective. The movie that I'm talking about in today's video, it has some flaws in my personal subjective opinion. Now, personally, in my opinion, the movie that we'll be discussing, it has some flaws, and I don't want people to do more response videos to me. So, personally, in my opinion, the movie that I'm talking about, it has some flaws that are, in my subjective opinion, they're just personal. And personally, I just think that the movie I'm talking about has some flaws. There are some issues with the movie, and this is all subjective. But personally, I really don't think this movie is as bad or as good as some people make it out to be. Now, what I'm going to say here is completely subjective. Now, personally, I have some issues with the movie. The movie has some flaws. There's some issues. There are some things about the movie that I just don't like. Now, personally, in my opinion, this movie has some flaws. There's some issues. And overall, this is just my subjective opinion. Now, personally,